All right, I'm gonna show you how to set up the Maverick bar for several different chest press options. This is the first way. If you have the standard bar, remember there's a standard and a smaller version for smaller racks. This is for the standard bar. It's hole 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's gonna be the farthest that you can push the angled handles out. If you have the straight handle, then you're gonna be able to go all the way out to the last hole, or whatever hole that you can make it to where this gusset doesn't actually interfere. So you'll be able to get nice and wide with the straight handles, but with the angled handles, because they're angled, they're actually going to run into this bar sooner or later. If you have the small bar, it will be hole 4, and what will happen is it's possible that this nut is actually going to be really close to the end of the handle, and if you have lots of room in between here, what you can do is take this and swap it, put the head on this side and the nut on this side, because the nut is much thicker than this head. You should still be able to move this all the way over into the 4th hole, but if that does for some reason become an issue because this is in the way, then because this handle should fall right below it, but it's not always going to be exactly the same. But if you have to, go ahead and you can just swap this one or swap both of them so they match, and the nut again is on this side rather than being over here, and the head is over here. So that's one option. What you want to do, it's actually going to be used in this position. What you want to do is always lift with the handle in the upwards position closest to the bar. This was designed so that the handle is slightly above the axis of the weight itself, and that increases the stability. If you move this down, you will actually decrease the stability and it will get wobbly like most Swiss bars. But because we changed the access point to slightly above, then you decrease it. So I only lift, and I only suggest lifting with it in the upwards position closest to the crossbar, and never down here. If you do, that's at your own risk. Again, the straight handles, we did change the handle location most recently to the outside, so no matter where you go with it, you can just rotate the handle and move this to the opposite side. Hopefully that makes sense. I actually don't have one to show you, but the straight handle, it's no longer off the back side of the handle, it's on the side of it, so you actually can flip it to get it out of the way no matter where you want to put it. So that's just a better design. I like that, so that's why I switched it. But for now, this is set up for a external rotation, angled handle, which is great for protecting your shoulders, or if you have an injury, it increases stability. So this is a great way to do it. But this is just one setup. So you would be here, you're going to make sure that your hand is in the center here. And if you go to pick it up and it feels like it's off center, then you're just going to set it down and kind of adjust your hands a little bit. You'll see the movement in this, and this kind of trips people out, but it's absolutely nothing. Once you're used to it, you'll never even think twice about it, because what happens as soon as you put any pressure on that handle, it locks in, and it locks in. So even though it's maybe not what you're used to, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. And it's very, very strong, but because of the adjustability, there's always going to be something, and this is the one thing that people aren't used to, but again, it means absolutely nothing. You won't even realize it once you put any tension whatsoever on the handle. So lifting off, these are going to be wide enough that it will fit right between your chest, and this is pretty much the setup for this variety, and now we're going to move on to the next one. All right, so I'm going to show you yet another, I call this one kind of a hack, but it's also a different variation. This one is using the angled extension arm with the angled handle, and this is just another opportunity to utilize it as a different angle. So it doesn't quite add up to 90 degrees because this is at 45 and this one's right around 60. So it's going to have the slight variation where you can have external rotation, just not so much of it. So it's basically like a neutral press, but just outside of that. So depending on the type of injury you have, you guys probably know that sometimes it takes a lot of external rotation, sometimes it's minimal. You just got to hit that sweet spot where it's not affecting that injury. So it's just good to have options. So this is, again, the angled one with the angled handle. You can see this pop pin is in this outward direction. That way, because if you flipped it the other way, it would be slightly this way. I have it this way. You can see it on this side too. It's in the third hole. Again, this is the standard bar. So you'll be able to play with it if you have the small one, figure out how wide you can go. But I did want to show you this one because it is just another option. This is in the first setup that I had it, to where the crossbar is up, this is out, and now I'm just going to demonstrate it. So again, we're going to find that center point here and here. Going to press off. Just off of neutral, slightly externally rotated. Again, let you guys see how this is set up from different angles. Third hole all the way down for safety. So this is another setup option for you guys to try and utilize. All right, so here's the next setup for bench press variations. There's a ton of them, and you guys are going to be able to experiment. Always make sure that if you try something new, you don't have any weight on the bar, you make sure it's nice and stable. Like, this is not something, I'm going to show you the ones that I like to use that are safe and have been tested. If you use anything outside of what we do, we are not responsible. But again, there's going to be a lot of different options. If you're going to test something outside of this, then do so at your own risk. But also just be smart and test it before you put any weight. Make sure that the bar is going to be stable, because there's a lot of different things that you can do. But I want you guys to try to stick to the ones that I show you, because I've tested them and they are safe. So this one is really interesting. Normally with any other bar, this isn't really possible, and it's not very safe with a standard barbell. But this actually puts you in a really good position for a reverse press, and I'm going to show you. So we're in hole 1, 2, 3, 4, and the bar will be used in this upright position with this going back towards you. So back, so you can see the orientation, because I know there is a lot of different options with this. It can be confusing, but once you use the video or watch the video and utilize it a few times, you're going to start remembering how to set it up. But again, it is so multi-purpose that you're going to be able to learn and utilize it in a lot of different ways. But also there is that having to learn to set it up. But for now, this one here, the handle, the pop pin is inward. The handle is actually extended out past this, which is great. You can move it in, of course. You have lots of adjustment opportunity. But for me, this is where I have set up for always in this top hole, in this case as well. So it's up here. And so I'm just going to demonstrate it. Again, let you guys see how it's set up. The pop pin is on this side. The angle, because you actually have multiple angles that you can put this pin, or put the handle. So different variations that you can try. When you're using it in this variation here, what I want you to see is now the center mass, the access point, is now going to be much closer to this side of the handle, because you need to line up with the center of this. So whereas before it was all the way at the other end of the handle, now we're going to be centered. I'm just going to demonstrate. So again, it's a supinated grip. And I'm going to center my hands. Easy to spot. Pull it off. It's very, very stable. It's very safe. So this is just another variation so you guys can see it, you can test it. I love this one, and now we're gonna move on to the next set. So one more thing, this setup is actually the exact same one that you would use with the straight handles. So the handles would go straight back this way, your hand would be right here, and you would press with them right here, but you can go wider out into farther holes out because you're not going to run into this part of it here, the frame itself. So you get nice and wide and have a neutral grip and go ahead and press. There's a huge camber, you can get maximal depth. But again, unfortunately, I don't have the straight handles to demonstrate it with. So you can still see it's the same exact setup as the one I just showed you, except the handle will come straight off of this here, and you will just center your hands on the frame where the weight is distributed. So really easy to show you, and now we're going to move on to the next one. All right, so here's yet another type of bench press that you can do with this. So again, I actually have to show this with the wrong handles, but I just want to demonstrate it because I wanted to get content to you guys to make sure that you know how to set it up, even though I am out of straight handles, even to demonstrate with. So you would just have to imagine this has the angled extension arms, but normally they would be the straight ones, and then the handle would be straight. This almost gets it to that same position. So it's almost going to replicate exactly what I wanted to show you, but it's not quite straight. It's got a slight angle, like 15 degrees, but the straight handle would go straight across here. So you're going to get it as far as you can. Actually, you get to set where you want to actually have it, because you could move it. If you wanted to do a narrower grip, you could move it in here, but for now I have it out as far as it'll go for a wider grip. And so this is going to be more like a traditional bench press with your hands this way, just like it would be with a normal barbell. So it's just another variation. And you can put your hands wherever you want within this. That's again why you can bring it in narrower. Then it would be a narrower grip using more triceps. So I'm gonna go ahead and just press it off of here, get it all the way to the front, lift it off. And press. Nice and stable, easy to get in and out of. Again, I wish I had the straight handles to demonstrate this, but it's the same exact setup. It just won't be using the angled extension handles. But if you do have these both, then this is one way that you can do it. So just so you guys know, but traditionally it would be, again, with the straight handle and the straight extension arm. But this just demonstrates it. You can see what I had to do compared to the last ones is actually spun the bar 180 degrees. So now the crossbar is on the inside, this is on the outside, and then this is also on this lower arm. So this is one that it actually has to be, or else I'll have to move this to demonstrate it. If we did it here, then you wouldn't have room for your fingers. So this one is actually, and only this one, is on the farthest location because it's actually moving in this direction and not this direction if it was spun. So hopefully that makes sense. It's not confusing. Just know this variation to mimic a traditional barbell is the only one that will be in the second hole down farther away from the crossbar so you have room for your hands. Again, these move, but it doesn't matter at all. So go ahead and play with it. Use different width adjustments to try to see what you guys like. So this is another variation of the chest press with the Maverick bar.